China just pulled another all-out pirate elimination in the open ocean. It started in the summer of 2025 when a Chinese warship sliced through the Gulf of Aden. To her starboard, a massive oil tanker steamed slowly, bound for Europe. Then out of nowhere, the dots appeared. Pirates, Somali raiders, desperate, armed, and closing in. But this time they picked the wrong ship to stalk, because shadowing the tanker was one of China's most capable frigates, the Type 054A Jingtang, and within moments the calm of the ocean turned into a battlefield. From the deck, a Z-9 helicopter roared to life, blades chopping the air. Marines scrambled into rigid inflatable boats, weapons ready. Over loudspeakers came a warning in Somali, then English, then Mandarin. Stop your engines, drop your weapons, or you will be fired upon. The pirates kept coming. They fired a burst into the air. For the crew of the tanker, watching from behind locked steel doors, it was a nightmare. But then came the Chinese response. The Z-9 swooped low, releasing flares and firing warning bursts into the water. The frigate fired its deck gun, not at the skiffs but just ahead, sending towering plumes of water skyward. The message was unmistakable. Seconds later, the skiffs tried to turn, but it was too late. The Chinese Marines were already on them. Boarding teams hit the water, circled and cut off their escape. Within minutes, the pirates were disarmed, their weapons tossed into the sea, their hands bound with plastic ties. It was over, and the footage filmed by a crewman on the tanker and later released online showed it all. Pirates who once terrorized global shipping now kneeling on the deck of a Chinese warship, surrounded by heavily armed Marines. For Beijing, it wasn't just a victory at sea, it was a message to the world. China can and will protect the lifelines of global trade. Every single day, the sea lanes of the Indian Ocean and the Gulf of Aden carry the lifeblood of the global economy. Crude oil shipped out of the Middle East, electronics and manufactured goods flowing from Asia, grain and raw materials heading toward Europe, all funnel through these narrow routes. Roughly 9 out of every 10 items traded worldwide move by water. And this stretch of ocean is one of the busiest arteries. When pirates interfere here, the impact ripples far beyond the waves. Insurance premiums shoot up, captains divert thousands of miles off course, and in some cases, one seized tanker has been enough to jolt fuel prices across the continents. This is why the Chinese operation mattered. It wasn't just about rescuing the ship. It was about proving that China is no longer just a trading nation. It's becoming the protector of the very seas its economy depends on. Say the word pirates, and most people still imagine something out of Pirates of the Caribbean. Tricorn hats, cannons, treasure buried on islands. The reality couldn't be further from that fantasy. In the 21st century, piracy has looked more like men in speedboats with rifles and rocket launchers than anything from the history books. Off the Horn of Africa, especially, Somali groups built a reputation that shook global shipping. By 2011, they weren't just a nuisance, they were a crisis. More than 700 sailors were taken hostage that year alone, and international companies paid ransoms adding up to hundreds of millions of dollars just to get their people and ships back. International patrols, American destroyers, British frigates, Indian warships, even private security guards on tankers pushed piracy down after 2012. For years, attacks fell, but pirates never went away. They regrouped, adapted, and waited for the navies to ease off. And by 2023 and 2024, they were back. Reports from the International Maritime Bureau showed hijackings rising again, especially in the Arabian Sea and near Somalia. Kidnappings, ransoms, shootouts at sea, Western navies busy in Europe and the Pacific had quietly pulled back. The stage was set, and that's when China stepped in. For decades, China's navy was focused close to home, defending its coast, patrolling the South China Sea, and watching Taiwan. But starting in 2008, Beijing made a quiet but game-changing move. It joined the international anti-piracy patrols in the Gulf of Aden. At first, people laughed. China's ships were old, its navy was untested. But year after year, its deployments became more regular, more professional, and more capable Type 054A frigates, destroyers, supply ships. By the mid-2010s, China had escorted thousands of merchant vessels through the danger zone. By the 2020s, it had permanent naval facilities in Djibouti, just miles from Somalia. What once looked like an experiment had turned into something much bigger, the foundation of a blue water navy. And when piracy surged again, China didn't hesitate to crush it down. Take the July 2025 incident. The Chinese frigate Jiangtan was already on patrol near the Gulf of Aden when distress calls came in from the Liberian-flagged oil tanker. Radar picked up the fast-moving skiffs. The pirates were heavily armed, but when they made their move, circling the tanker and firing shots, the Jiangtan didn't hesitate. Deck guns fired warning bursts. The helicopter dropped flares, disorienting the attackers. At the same time, the Marines moved in. The firefight the pirates expected never came. Instead, overwhelmed and outmatched, they surrendered. When the footage later surfaced online, pirates kneeling on the steel deck, weapons piled beside them, it went viral. Chinese state's media hailed it as proof of Beijing's responsibility. International shipping companies quietly expressed relief, and the Somali pirate camps got the message clearly that China was not a navy to test. The clash on the water was more than a single firefight. It symbolized a broader turning point. For hundreds of years, the world's sea lanes have been guarded in succession. First by the Portuguese, then the Dutch, later the British Empire, and more recently the United States. But in the 21st century, as Western attention drifts towards other regions, the Indian Ocean has become contested space, and China has stepped into this gap, determined to stake its claim. Every successful operation builds its claim as a security provider. Every crew rescued adds to its influence. Every pirate captured shows that Beijing can do more than just talk. And unlike Western navies, which often rotate in and out, China is building permanent roots. Its base in Djibouti, its supply deals with Oman and Pakistan. Its patrols stretch not just to Somalia, but across the Indian Ocean, even toward the Strait of Hormuz. For the sailors rescued in July, the relief was overwhelming. One Filipino crewman, speaking to reporters later, said, "We locked ourselves in the citadel and waited. We could hear gunfire outside. We thought this was the end. Then we saw the helicopter. That's when we knew we were saved." For the pirates, it was a different story. Many were young, desperate, drawn into piracy by poverty and militia recruiters. But once in Chinese custody, they faced trial. Not ransom, not release. A shift from the old days, when pirates often slipped back to shore and disappeared. Every time a navy stops a pirate attack, it prevents a crisis from rippling outward. Without that Chinese frigate, the Liberian tanker might have been hijacked, its crew held hostage, its cargo delayed. Oil prices might have spiked, insurance costs might have surged. Instead, the ship continued its journey. The pirates sat in handcuffs, and trade kept flowing. Multiply that by dozens of rescues and you see the bigger picture. China isn't just eliminating pirate threats, it's shaping the very balance of security on the seas.